More than 3,000 years ago, ancient Egypt was at its peak. The Nile flowed like a river of life, and the golden capital city was alive with music, trade, and prayers to the gods. But inside the royal palace, hidden behind tall columns covered with hieroglyphs, a child was born in complete silence. He was the second son of the great pharaoh Akhunmeset. His name was Prince Kam, meaning he who rises with glory. But there was no glory in his arrival. The high priest, a man feared by everyone, had predicted that the second-born son would rise above his father's throne. The king did not like prophecies, and the queen feared them. So, from the moment Prince Kam cried for the first time, the royal court decided one thing: he must never be allowed to rise. He was raised in shadows, tutored in secrecy, trained quietly by old scholars instead of royal generals. No statues were carved for him. No celebrations were held. No records were written. He was a prince without a kingdom, a boy born to be forgotten. Kam grew up wandering the palace gardens alone, watching his older brother receive everything he was denied: praise, power, and the promise of the throne. But Kam was different. Where his brother was arrogant, Kam was curious. Where his brother loved jewels, Kam loved books. Where his brother worshipped power, Kam searched for truth. The palace workers whispered about him: the boy with the golden eyes. He sees things others don't. Even at a young age, Kam could read writings that even priests struggled to understand. He understood old symbols, ancient languages, and forgotten myths. His mind was sharp, like a blade carved by the gods themselves. And the more he learned, the more dangerous he became, because knowledge is the one thing a threatened kingdom fears most. On his 13th birthday, Kam discovered something that changed his destiny forever. Inside a dusty chamber beneath the palace, he found a stone tablet, cracked, faded, but very clear. A prophecy: the forgotten son will reveal the truth and lead the kingdom through darkness. The moment he touched the tablet, the torches flickered. A chill ran through him. His breath trembled. His life suddenly made sense. The secrecy, the silence, the isolation. He wasn't being protected. He was being controlled. The truth scared him, but it terrified those in power even more. When the priests learned that Kam had found the prophecy, panic spread through the palace like wildfire. The high priest told the king, "Your younger son will one day overthrow your rule. Erase him now, for the gods will erase you." The king hesitated. He loved Kam in his own quiet, distant way. But fear won. The council decided. Kam must disappear. Not killed. That would anger the gods, but erased. Scratched off walls, removed from scrolls, hidden from memory. The next morning, palace guards dragged him from his study room. Kam didn't fight. He only asked one question. "Why?" the captain whispered. "Because truth scares those who build their thrones on lies." That night, the prince was taken far into the desert. The guards left him with nothing. No food, no water, no hope. He watched their torches disappear across the dunes. And then he was alone. The desert is not kind. It burns in the day and freezes at night. It whispers with winds that sound like spirits. Kam walked for hours, then days, collapsing again and again. But the desert did not kill him. Instead, it led him. One night, under a sky full of stars, he saw a faint glow behind a dune. He crawled toward it, expecting death. Instead, he found life, a hidden oasis, untouched, sacred, watched over by nomads who believed in ancient gods older than Egypt itself. They took him in, healed him, and listened to his story. When they learned he was a prince, they bowed. When they learned the prophecy, they pledged loyalty. For the first time, Kam had a family. The desert had taken everything from him, but returned destiny. Years passed. Kam grew from a weak boy into a powerful young leader. He trained with warriors. He learned desert strategies: survival, astronomy, medicine, diplomacy. He studied stars the way other princes studied war. He learned truths the priests of Egypt never wanted him to know. He understood people, storms, silence, and secrets. The boy who had no voice was now a man who spoke with wisdom. The prince who was forgotten became unforgettable. Stories of a mysterious desert prince began to reach Egypt. A man who saved travelers, settled tribal conflicts, and predicted the movement of the stars. The king grew afraid. The priests trembled. The prophecy was waking. When the king grew old and fell gravely ill, chaos erupted in Egypt. The older prince, Kem's brother, was cruel and incompetent. People whispered that the gods were angry. One night, a message reached Kem. Egypt needs you. Your father calls for you. Kem hesitated. The land that had abandoned him now begged for help. But destiny does not wait. He rode across the dunes with the same guards who once left him there to die. Their faces were filled with shame. When he entered the palace, silence fell. He knelt beside his dying father. The king opened his eyes weakly. My son, forgive us. The truth was bigger than our courage. Kem held his hand. The truth does not punish. Fear does. Those were the king's last words. Before Kem could speak to the council, before he could fulfill the prophecy, the high priest struck again. He poisoned Kem's older brother and blamed Kem. Within hours, the entire palace turned on him. Once again, fear ruled. Kem tried to flee, but the high priest trapped him inside an unfinished tomb, a dark stone room with no windows and no exit. Let the forgotten prince remain forgotten, the priest said. The door was sealed. The desert would swallow him forever. But destiny was not finished. For days Kem survived in the dark, scratching messages on the stone walls. Truth will rise. Lived. History will find me. He used his blood, his strength, his last breaths. He died inside that hidden tomb, but not defeated. His final message was carved right above where he lay. Erase me if you must, but the stars will speak my name again. And then the prince, who never existed, ceased to exist. 3,000 years later, in the blazing heat of the Sahara, an archaeologist named Dr. Leila Morgan made a discovery that changed history. A strange stone doorway buried deep under the sand. No markings, no statues, no name. Inside, she found a small chamber, dusty, forgotten, silent, until her flashlight hit the wall. There, carved into stone, was a message. I lived. Her heart froze. She kept reading the carvings, each telling the story of a prince who was erased from history. She found the mummy wrapped in simple linens, not royal, not common, something in between. Beside the body lay a golden amulet shaped like a rising sun, a symbol of a prince, a symbol of Kem. The forgotten son was no longer forgotten. News spread worldwide. Scholars rewrote timelines. Historians updated books. Priests and kings had erased him, but the desert had preserved him. Dr. Leila stood outside the tomb and whispered, Prince Kem, the world finally knows you. And for the first time in millennia, the forgotten prince rose, not in flesh, but in truth. The prophecy had come true at last. The forgotten son will reveal the truth and lead the kingdom through darkness. He did, not in his lifetime, but in ours. History had tried to bury him, but destiny waited. Some people live to write history,